This week's episode of the podcast talked about the family. Now, we didn't get into specifics, but inside the Discipleship Path, we break family down into spouse, kids, and environment. This was an overview episode, so I wanted to talk about threats to all three of those and kind of overarching themes. What I have noticed in working with men is that a lot of times problems of the self manifest in symptoms of the family. So you've got something wrong with your spiritual life, your mental life, or your physical body. And instead of addressing it, you just work around it. And then eventually it leads to problems in the family. And so today I wanted to talk about first fruits. And first fruits is an idea in the Bible of you take from your surplus and give 10% to God, tithing principle. What I like about applying this idea to family is that, again, you take from your surplus and give to your family. A lot of guys try and give from their deficit to their family. They say, well, I'm not going to take care of me. I'm just going to sacrificially give to my family. That's okay as a short-term solution, right? Like if you have a problem and you either can't work it out or won't work it out because you don't have the time, fine, give sacrificially to your family. That's okay. Keep them going, keep them healthy. But if you are constantly in a state of doing that, if you say, I will never take care of myself and I will sacrificially give to my family, eventually something's going to break. So what you have to do is take care of yourself first. Again, this isn't hedonism. This isn't saying all of my needs and desires need to be met before I'm willing to address my family. But you need to be healthy to the point that there is a surplus to give. You need to fill your own cup. Now that can be done in the confines of the family. You can do that while interacting with your wife, while you're interacting with your children. But if you don't have that surplus, it is impossible to pour into them. Now the cool thing about the family unit is once that surplus exists, once you can take care of yourself to the point that you can pay attention and pour into other people, then you can start pouring into your wife. And your wife can do the same thing. Once she has a surplus, she can start pouring back into you. And now you've created this symbiotic relationship where you're both feeding each other to the point that you can sustain everything else in your life. But if you are a drain on the economy, if you're not taking care of yourself to the point that she just constantly has to be pouring into you, then you don't get the benefits of working together, of pouring into each other and creating this beautiful symbiotic relationship. Now the kids, they're going to be a drain. You are going to pour into them. You'll get a little bit back. They're cute and whatever. I understand that. But they are just going to take from you. So between you and your wife, both of you need to be operating at a surplus to the point that you can pour into them. They can just take it and go live their lives. So how do we do that? You need to figure out your weaknesses and you need to pay attention to warning signs. For me, the two main things that I run into are sleep and screen time. If I'm not getting enough sleep, I am a nightmare to be around. Now, one night, fine, whatever, but 2 or 3 nights in a row of poor sleep, and I become truly unbearable. Same thing with screen time. If you look at the screen time on my phone, as that number goes up, I become less and less agreeable over time. I have less time and energy to pour into my family in the ways that they deserve. So find your weaknesses. Find the things that are prone to trip you up and pay attention to them. Get rid of them. Keep them to the point where you have the energy to pour out. From there, you start to be able to pay attention to both your needs and the needs of those around you. And if you can maintain all of those, your needs, your wife's needs, and your kids' needs, you create an environment that all of you can thrive in, that you can be relaxed and honest and comfortable with each other. And that creates further benefits. So again, we operate the self. We get it to the point where there's a surplus, not where there's a ridiculous, not, again, denying the needs of your family just to live in the self, but taking care of yourself to the point that you can pay attention. Once you're paying attention, you can build a foundation of the home. You can take care of your wife, you can take care of your kids, and the whole thing becomes self-operating and feeding. Then you can go into your vocation, you can go into church, and you can pour into other people. But if you cannot build this foundation of self, you will destroy your family, and your family will not be able to support you as you go out into the world. Now, the temptation on the other side is to say, well, I'm doing work for my family, right? I leave the house every day and I go make money so that they can survive. That's true. But if you don't create an environment that they want to live in, money is going to be the least of your problems. And I know that there's a certain threshold that needs to be cleared in order for your household to operate. And we're going to talk about that a lot when it comes to the vocation piece. But once that threshold is cleared, if you're not pouring into everybody, if they're not getting the best of you on a daily basis such that they can sustain themselves, you are going to have the home break. Now, I don't know when, I don't know how, but eventually something will fall apart. What I try and do is create one memory a day with my kids. Now, my kids are little, so often this involves me just picking them up and throwing them across the room, or tickling them until they scream and cry, because apparently that's fun, or taking them to the park and spinning them on something that would make me dizzy in 10 seconds. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just any intentional time focused on them. With older kids, maybe it's just a simple conversation, just an honest, how was your day? I actually care. I don't know. I'm not there yet. And again, this doesn't happen every day. Sometimes I get to the end of the day, I look at my son and I say, I messed it up today, kid. I gave you what I had and it didn't feel like it was enough to me. But then I go back and I fix the problem. I say, okay, why was it that I wasn't able to pour into him today? Is it because I wasn't praying enough? Is it because I was on my phone too much? Is it because I didn't sleep last night? I didn't eat good food? You can figure this out. And if you pay attention to it over time, you will find the ways that you fall. You will find the red flags that say, watch out, bad things are coming, and you'll be able to address them. So pay attention. Pour into your family because they deserve it. Pour into your family because this is the foundation that will support you when you go out into the world. You pour into them such that you create a healthy environment that can sustain you when you step out into the workplace, when you step into your church in a big way. If you don't have a system that supports that idea, you have problems and something will break. I think that this is one of the temptations that guys run into with not taking care of themselves. They say, I don't have the capacity to tell my family to wait a minute. I don't have the ability to say, look guys, I can't take care of this because I need to take care of myself. The problem with that idea is when things come to a head, when things eventually break because there's just so much pressure on the system, you don't get to choose the thing that breaks. If you say to your wife, I'm going to take some time. You and I aren't going to date for the next week or two. I'm sorry. I need to take care of myself. You pick the thing that suffers. You say, look, my relationship with you, it's going to suffer a little bit in the short term, but I'm going to get my stuff figured out and we're going to build that back up. Or you say, look, kids, I don't have time to play with you tonight because I'm going to do these other things. Saying no to these little things allows you to pick the ways that you and or your family suffer in the process. When you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and refuse to address the self, you get to the point where something breaks. And the problem with things breaking is you don't get to pick the thing that breaks. It just breaks. Now you might be able to fix it, but you might not be able to fix it. Maybe instead of making your wife uncomfortable for a short period of time, she just decides that she's done and you're getting a divorce. Maybe instead of saying, look, kids, I need a little bit of time to myself, they just decide, Dad doesn't love me, so I'm not going to try anymore. When you push something to the edge, you don't get the power of choice. So make the choices now. Make the choice to say, no, I'm going to step into self. I'm going to step away from these other things because I want to protect the whole system. It is not honorable to drive yourself into the ground trying to take care of your family. In the short term, that can be fine. But in the long term, pain and suffering will accompany that idea. So take care of yourself, pour into your family, and then move on and have a great life. Now, next week is a very interesting episode. It has to deal with beliefs, and honestly, it is not the episode that I intended to write when I sat down to write it. It's very weird, it's very direct, and it's a little hard on Christians. I think we're deserving of it, unfortunately. So next week on YouTube, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about talking to God and hearing God's voice, because I think we need a recap of that. But listen to next week's episode. Let me know what you think. Eventually in the belief series, we're going to get into what you do about everything. Right now, we are addressing the problems. I want to point out the problems and the beliefs that everyone has so that we can get to the answers. So a couple weeks down the road, we're going to start moving towards answers, but right now we're still diagnosing the problem. And I think I've been fair in my representation of the problem, but it's going to come across a little heavy. So listen to that episode. Let me know what you think. Hopefully it's not too harsh. I think it's relatively fair. And other than that, put down your phone and go live some life. Hug your kids, hug your wife, tell them you love them. Thanks, guys.